What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of AKP Sports Talk. As always, I'm Ari here with Korea. Another week of sports, getting further a bit into the NBA playoffs. We had the first team advance out of the first round last night with the Wolves sweeping the Suns, which I don't think many expected to see. Korea, how was your weekend overall?
Yeah, it was great. Obviously, nice to see the Suns get swept. Obviously, Yusuf Nurkic and his "That's all, folks" tweet obviously really backfiring. If you saw his record, 3-17 in the postseason, that's all, folks, over there. But obviously that's a discussion for another time. Obviously, but great weekend. Obviously, got some good MLB games this past weekend. Some great series. But obviously, you mentioned new week. Obviously, it's been a while since our last video, so we're not really going to do a recap since from Thursday. But obviously, new week. We're just resetting the bankroll for a new week. Here we go. I got some picks for you. Obviously, three. I'm sticking with baseball as we end. Crazy that we're already at the end of April. It's so fast that obviously May starts on Wednesday, and that's obviously the next time. Unfortunately, we will have a potential Nerfy stream is on Wednesday. That's the next morning game because all of these games start at about afternoon time on the West Coast Eastern time, about 6:40 on the Eastern time. So obviously very late in the day. But here are my three picks for today. First, we're gonna go in the final game of this 4-game series in Miami, and I'm taking the Nats on the money line at plus 114. And this is just a simple. I love fading the Miami Marlins. Miami, obviously not a great team this year. Obviously, just in terms of how their bullpen is, their pitching, and you're getting the Nats at a great price at plus 114. I think that even though people are saying there's no way that Miami loses 4 at home, right? Wait a minute. I think this Nats team led by Jake Irvin today. Obviously not a great, well-known name if you want to be backing the Nats on the money line today. His splits aren't the greatest, but when you talk about the Miami bullpen and just how literally in yesterday's game, we saw that Miami go up 6-0, and then all of a sudden I checked the score and it was 10-9, and I was thinking, what happened? You got to think, it's just the Miami Marlins, and what can go wrong will go wrong for this Miami Marlins team. So I'm just taking the Nats on the money line here. You're getting them at a good price. And, on the other side for Miami, they have Trevor Rogers starting on the mound. He's not the greatest. He has some decent splits, against this Nationals team. But in terms of his season so far, 0-3, I think a 5.36 ERA. I think his whip is somewhere about 1.5. So just in terms of how he is as a pitcher, just not that great on the season. And you look at the Miami Marlins bullpen, which was already beat up from yesterday's game. I believe that it's just not going to be pretty today for Miami today. And then obviously same thing for the Nats, but they let kind of Patrick Corbin get rocked. They knew Patrick Corbin was going to get rocked anyway. So you have the Nats at a good price, and the way they've been hitting as well, and they have a better lineup trotting today. Obviously, this is the final game of the series. I'm taking the Nats on the money line. I'm leaning for the first 5, but I just think with how horrible Miami's bullpen is, I love the Nats full game at plus 114 here. So I'm getting the Nats at plus 114. I love that price there. And then we're going to San Diego tonight. We're going to be taking the Reds first 5 money line. You get that at minus 120 here. And we're just back in my favorite guy, Nick Lodolo here. Nick Lodolo is one of the best pitchers on this Reds staff. Obviously, last year he was pretty much banged up for a considerable part of the season. A lot of people kind of forgot about him in terms of that Reds staff. But, in terms of the more consistent pitcher for the Reds organization, I look to Nick Lodolo. He has good splits. I think he's 2-0 in the season, about a 2 ERA. So he has pretty much cooked when he has been asked to, and he has good splits against his Padres team. So I'm just taking him through the first 5. Obviously the bullpens come into play, and I don't really trust either bullpen to be really consistent in this rule spot. But I'm just taking the Reds, who I think are the who I think have the better pitcher in this spot. I'm taking them through the first 5. And on the other side, for the Padres, they got Matt Waldron on the mound, and he's had an up and down season, and I know the Reds can hit right-handed pitching really well. All you need is just one. All you need is to get Ellie De La Cruz on base once, and that's all you need, and then you'll get a run there. So some way, somehow, he'll steal second, and then he'll steal third, and then some error will happen, and then he'll go home. That's literally how Ellie De La Cruz usually scores. So I that's all we need. Maybe once throughout the first 5 for that first 5 to cash on the money line for us at minus 120. And I just expect. I hope Nick Lodolo, obviously, I expect him to really kind of cook this Padres lineup, who he has previous success against. The only kind of name that I'm a little concerned about is Manny Machado, but the one kind of thing about these Monday games is that a lot of these are new series, and a lot of these teams kind of like to start out a little slow, with their lineups, and kind of getting used, to a new pitching staff and a new team and all that whatnot. So that's why I'm just taking the better pitcher through the first five, and that's the Reds. So I'm taking the Reds through the first five at -120. You're getting them a good price there, and then we're gonna go to Oakland here, and a game nobody really is gonna watch, honestly. The Pirates and A's, and we're gonna be taking them through the first five, both to score over 4.5 runs at -110 here. You look at the pitching matchup, it's Bailey Falter and Joe Boyle, and we know how bad Joe Boyle is. He gives up walks for days, and this Pirates team can hit the ball pretty well when you look at the way they've been hitting the ball. Brian Hayes and Brian Reynolds, kind of the two main constants for this Pittsburgh lineup. I expect him to really kind of be, attacking Joe Boyle kind of early. That's kind of what he's known for. This is a similar play we had the previous week when it was the Yankees' first five team total, when I was just fading Joe Boyle again, and we're just fading Joe Boyle again. But also at the same time, this A's lineup has been really, really, really hot recently for some reason, obviously. And now they go home and they host Bailey Falter, and Bailey Falter, obviously his season has been up and down, and I don't think he has the greatest splits against some of these A's hitters from previous history. So I'm just going to take this first five over 4.5. I think there's going to be runs from both sides here pretty early. I lean more Pittsburgh here. So if you want maybe if you want a different play, I do lean the Pirates first five money line. But I'm just taking the fact that there are going to be runs from both teams potentially. So I'm just going to take the first five over 4.5. You're getting it at a good price at -110. Just backing the fact there are going to be runs from both sides, probably with Bailey Falter and his struggles, especially on a road, and then Joe Boyle and his inconsistencies as a pitcher in terms of giving up walks, and that can easily lead to a few runs in the first few innings there. So we're just going to take that first five over 4.5. So those are my three plays today. The Nationals on the money line, you're getting them at a good price at +114. You're just fading Miami. Love fading the Miami Marlins. That's our favorite system all day, obviously. That was one of our season plays, just the Miami Marlins team total wonder. And obviously, we talk about the Miami Marlins bullpen being one of the worst bullpens in baseball. This team is really, really bad. And, I was looking at the Nats first five. That was my previous play. But when we talk about Miami's bullpen and how bad they are, we saw yesterday, Miami was up 6-0 after a Jazz Chisholm grand slam and some extra runs, and all of a sudden it was 10-9. So, a depleted Miami bullpen that's not really good overall to begin with, that already leads to trouble against Trevor Rogers. And then Reds first five, I'm just taking Nick Lodolo through the first five. I think he's a better pitcher. I think the Reds, maybe get 1 or 2 runs against Matt Waldron. And then I hope Nick Lodolo just cooks this Padres team on the road. And then finally, Pirates A's, first five over 4.5. I'm just backing the runs there with Bailey Falter and Joe Boyle on the mound. I think the A's maybe get a couple runs, same for the Pirates as well, to push that over first five over 4.5. Those are my 3 plays today on this Monday. Ari, what have you cooked up on this Monday?
Yeah, I'm on 2 plays. I'll start off with one that you're on in a different fashion in the Reds. I don't mind looking at the first five. Like, I definitely hear you with, avoiding the bullpen, just backing Lodolo, but I'm on the full game because I don't mind the bullpen in this scenario. Obviously if it gets to the 9th with Alexis Diaz and whatnot. But I mean, yeah, obviously the Padres, again, they've been kind of disappointing the past couple of years compared to their expectations, or I guess mainly just a year or so. But they're coming off. I think they're just swept by the Phillies in their last series. They're not coming with any momentum. Not that the Reds are coming in with much either, to be fair, but mostly just backing Lodolo in this case, like you mentioned. And then I think he can go pretty deep. He's gone. He went into the 7th against the Angels, the 6th against the White Sox. He had only 5 against the Phillies, but I think he can have more success against the Padres than he did the Phillies. So maybe 6 or 7 innings, and then just 2 into the bullpen to close it out. I think it's going to be somewhat low scoring. I think Waldron's more of just like a extended opener. Like, he'll go like 3 or 4 innings. So we'll see what they can do against him, the Reds lineup. But mostly just backing Lodolo here, as you were talking about. And then going with the Dodgers on the road in Arizona, mostly fading Tommy Henry with this one. With the Dodgers, for their standards, a pretty low price of -130. They have Paxton on the mound, who I think can do enough against Arizona. to kind of hold them off enough compared to what the Dodgers will do against Tommy Henry. Obviously, the Dodgers haven't been, exactly what most expected them to be so far this season. But obviously, like you said, we're only like barely a month into the season, so obviously still early. You're not going to get the Dodgers at this price that often, and you can counter that by saying that it's low for a reason, and maybe they're going to lose because of that. But obviously, Arizona's a respectable team, and it's in Arizona too, so I think that has to do with the line more than being like a trap or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, just 2 money lines for me tonight: Dodgers over Arizona, and the Reds over the Padres.
Ari, you were literally just talking about how the Dodgers are a trap, and I was literally about to say the Dodgers are a trap because the Diamondbacks do hit lefties pretty well. I think they're like first in like batting average or whatnot. So I think that the lines. I mean, obviously you're backing the Dodgers. I do think obviously Dodgers better team when you look at that price at -130, but there is some value maybe like on the first 5 over like I think 4.5, 5.5. I think that's where it is at right now. Just when you look at Tommy Henry and his inconsistencies and, how the D-backs were pretty much silenced in Seattle because Seattle only has righties, but, they love facing lefties. So, we'll see when they face the lefty today. But, we talked about how the Reds definitely, you talk about Nick Lodolo for the full game. I was talking about the first 5, you talking about Waldron kind of just being, a 3 to 4 inning opener, for the Padres, kind of what he's been, just kind of a bullpen kind of day for the Padres. And, that's kind of just why I'm on the first 5, just kind of backing, the Reds against Matt Waldron specifically. But obviously I do like the full game, at a really good price at pretty much -112, almost a pick 'em for you for the Reds full game, just backing Nick Lodolo, as you said, the better pitcher on the road in this fashion. I mean, obviously you said the Dodgers, as you said, backing the better team. And you mentioned the Dodgers have had some inconsistencies to start the season, but like you said, it's April. April baseball isn't really meant to be taken too seriously. As you get into May or June, that's when you really get to see how teams really are. Obviously, some teams are struggling to our chagrin.
I'll also say, like, even if they hit lefties well, like, I mean, their lineup just in general is not doing well. Like, they moved Corbin Carroll down to like number 8 in the order against the Mariners, who obviously was like their best hitter. So even if they have a good splits against lefties, like on the season, like just in terms of like recent play, it hasn't been as good compared to their past few series. So that's also kind of why I'm not extremely worried about that one split in this instance, where Paxton's been good enough this season for me to back him, compared to what the Dodgers can do against Tommy Henry.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I mean, I just know Paxton. He's been bailed out sometimes. I mean, I think his expected ERA is like near like the 5s or 6s, even though his like ERA is like in the 2s. So that's maybe like a telling sign.
It's mostly the Dodgers lineup, obviously.
Yeah. I'm just saying, like it could go anyway, obviously, but obviously you have the Dodgers. We're both on the Reds, going back to my play with the Nationals as well, and then the Pirates and A's first 5 over 4.5. Just 2 horrible pitchers, and we're back in both lineups there. Then obviously are on the Reds full game. I think
you're gonna have to leave the. No, I think you're gonna have to leave real quick and then come back in. But yeah, going back to Korea's plays, like you said, Nationals money line, final game of the series against the Marlins, just fading, probably the worst team in the MLB right now in Miami. And then Reds first 5 money line. We're both on the Reds. He's just on the first 5. I'm on the full game. And then Pirates A's first over 4.5. Both offenses can be suspect at times with the Pirates and A's, but both pitchers can be suspect as well. So just going over year 3 plays again.
Yeah, I don't know why people keep calling my phone. Don't know why. I guess people want my plays. People want my plays. But yeah, Nats money line. Miami has the worst bullpen. Just going off of that, Reds first 5. We've always talked about back in Nick Lodolo, Pirates A's, horrible pitchers. 2 good lineups. A's surprisingly have a great lineup right now. Pirates have had a pretty consistent lineup, and I expect Joe Boyle to get roughed up a little early. Obviously, You can find this video and all of our plays on our Twitter, AKP Sports Talk. Unfortunately, as we said, there is no Nerfy today or tomorrow, but as we talked about Wednesday, there are a lot of morning games, so we may have a Nerfy stream then. So for all of the Nerfy stream fans out there, tune in on Wednesday. We may come back with a Nerfy stream there, but that's going to do it for this episode. That's Ari. I'm Korea. Obviously, we didn't really have any NBA plays today. Obviously, as the playoffs continue, we may look tomorrow as well. As we get into potentially the second round for a lot of teams. But that's going to do it for this episode. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We will see you guys tomorrow.